Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on a journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney
And Kelly.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Sydney.
Hey. Oh, it's Valentine's week, but the only thing we're going to get is me wearing pink
Oh, okay.
for this episode. But also,
I'm wearing blue. Okay.
So our viewers get to know I'm on my period while we're recording this. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. But every time I get my period, I always contemplate, am I exhibiting the typical symptoms that or people, or the ones,
Or are you just a gripey person?
No.
I'm teasing.
Quit it. That, people
Yes.
stereotypically associate. I really don't think that I do. Like, I tend to not be overly emotional as a person anyway.
Right.
But my period doesn't always really affect that.
Yeah.
My tummy will hurt a little bit. I'm lucky I don't get cramps.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I don't know. I don't think whatever PMS stuff. Now, there are things that are that people have said, it's oh, that's not true. Quick, go with me.
Yeah, I'm thinking of what a friend said. Go ahead.
Okay. But people will say, oh, this is false. Women don't really experience these things just because it's their period. But I don't know. I have some friends that truly, when it's their period, they feel it, or they feel more emotional. They feel, because it's a hormone change.
Yeah.
And I get people will say that because they don't want, if a woman at work is really adamant about something or seems to be getting quote unquote emotional, it's people will, oh, she must be, it must be the week or whatever.
Yes.
And that's not true. Women will, that's just not true.
No.
But I do think it's a hormone change. Of course you're going to be affected.
Well, as my friend said, I don't need to wait for a certain time of the month. I can be a bitch any day.
That's our one curse word we can get away with.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
That's funny, but it's true. I like that.
It is true.
It's true.
You
but
can't
it's
blame it. But
you can't just okay, yeah, sure. During our period, we do tend to be a little more sensitive, potentially, or whatever.
Your hormones can change.
Hormones can change.
It's kind of like when you're pregnant and you cry at everything.
Yeah, but it's definitely not ever okay for people to,
it's not the
blame your period because you're acting a certain way.
Yeah.
But you don't even. Yeah. I mean, luckily, I'm not experiencing hormones now, but I feel like you're past that. Right?
Yeah, I just get hot a lot.
Hot all the time. Well, it's women never get a freaking break. As soon as you hit your period,
it's one thing, it's the other. It's hormones.
Just everything, perimenopause, then menopause, then you're dealing with that for the rest of your life, even though you don't get. Doesn't right? Men don't understand. They're so lucky.
They are so lucky. They couldn't handle it.
Yes. So I just want to bring, because every time I always think, am I exhibiting the typical symptoms? Do I seem to be a little? I don't think so.
No, I'm emotional all the time. So I don't know.
I know
that leads into.
Yes, it does.
It does lead into
all
it.
Time, yes. So yes, this week this does lead in very well. Good job. We are talking about the highly sensitive people, highly sensitive person, HSP, and this continues with our series. Last week we talked about anger. Now we're kind of getting into emotions and the body. And so being a highly sensitive person, it's not, it is emotional and it's physical. It's like a sensory
It's a sensory thing, yeah.
It's called sensory processing sensitivity.
Yes, and not to be confused with sensory processing disorder. Those are two different
completely
things.
Completely different, yeah. SPS.
Yes.
Sensitivity.
Yeah, it's not a disorder. It's traits.
It's how your body's wired.
Yeah, but it's not a processing disorder.
Yeah, the disorder.
That's different, and you've got to do your own research on that one.
Oh yeah. You get
too professional for me.
No, you get diagnosed with it. There are a lot it is very different. So we're talking about sensory processing sensitivity.
Sensitivity.
Today.
Those sensitive people like me.
But 20% of the population may be highly sensitive.
And this is so new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's newer. I've known of it for a couple of years, but I had no idea. I thought everybody was like this.
It
because
is true,
I walk around the world like this.
I mean, you think about your own inner world. You don't know anybody else's experience, so of course you're just going to assume that's what everybody's experiencing. So well, I'm human, I'm a person, this is what people experience.
Yeah, I thought everybody, I thought tags on the back of your shirt.
Oh my gosh. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that later.
So the main person that has kind of spearheaded this highly sensitive person thing and really done research and talked about it, her name's Dr. Elaine Aron.
Yes.
I don't remember when she started doing this stuff.
She's got some books that we'll put on the thing. It's 1980s.
And so if you really want any info, look her up online.
we'll tag that because there's a lot. We used a lot, or I read a lot of her stuff recently.
And a big thing is that there are, I'm going through my list. Yeah. So if you pop in with something, go for it.
She has a workbook out and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. The big thing, so there are actually, in her work, 8 senses, not just like the 5 that we do, but there's 8 senses. So sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, typical. Movement, balance, and interoception, which is body cues, reading people's body cues.
You're reading like if you don't know you're hungry or thirsty, or reading your own body cues, not somebody else, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Reading body cues. Yeah. Reading. Yeah. Can you read if you're hungry? Some people can't. Or some people are very sensitive to those feelings and they affect how they behave. And thinking about movement, like if you're running a lot or if you're jumping, those things and then that affects your balance and that can affect how you're processing the world.
Right. Balance, they talk about is motion sickness, fear of heights can be part of that. Yeah. Difficulty walking on uneven surfaces, so it's vestibular sensitivity.
Yes. And so basically what happens in a highly sensitive person is they have a much, much higher brain activity when it comes to emotional processing and visceral sensations, which is why especially like movement, touch, balance, interoception, that stuff does matter for highly sensitive people,
Right.
And so their brain is just more hardwired to, overly process overly process their environment because you just pick up on everything, or maybe be more
overly processed.
To me, it's
we just notice it all.
You can't filter. You don't have a filter, I feel like, for your environment.
That's
right?
interesting.
Think about background sounds, background sensations, but I can filter that stuff out.
Well, I can too now.
Yeah.
And it depends on what, but it also, this is so, you may have one and not the other.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may have sight sensitivity in the brightness of
but
lights,
not smell,
but not the smell, or the tags may not bother you.
Yeah.
I have to certain types of clothing. I would those type of things. And hearing, I can turn off certain sounds but tune them out. Turn them off. But others will drive me nuts. So it just depends, and everybody is.
Yeah, everybody's different. Yeah.
So, but I just never knew that was a thing.
So, but when did you figure out you were highly sensitive? I don't know.
Well, it wasn't until I was into adulthood. I just knew how I was. And I took piano lessons, and that lady chewed ice the entire time. And can you imagine? I never learned anything.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just like this crunching sound. All for an hour.
And that,
or 30, I don't know how long.
Oh, I know that there are times where I'm eating an apple, and depending on how you are that day, you can't sit next to me.
I go, and I know it's my
which is
issue,
fine, and you
so
leave.
I'll go, and if I've been if I'm really stressed that day, it seems like things bother me.
Yeah,
And then
more,
when I
yeah.
know, but it's a signal to me to go, wow, you need to
Yeah.
learn how to calm down for a minute or get whatever's going on, to find out what's going on that you can't tune stuff out. And other times it doesn't bother me.
Right.
I don't care if I crunch an apple, but don't you dare. Right? What is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true.
I don't care.
So
but
funny.
and it just depends on that,
Yeah.
so
So,
how
like,
we are.
So yeah, when you were a kid, and did you just have to slowly learn that like you had to cope with it? Because
I didn't know that I didn't regulate. I didn't know that stuff was overstimulating. I didn't know, but I probably protected myself by spending time by myself.
Yeah.
And getting quiet.
Yeah.
And doing stuff like that.
Right.
One thing I was aware of is when you and Lauren, with both of you, when you were little, I would every time I'd buy your clothing,
you were
I would
so
make
picky.
sure everything was so soft, because I thought, how could anybody stand, especially a baby, anything irritating their skin? And I was just overly.
So funny. Yeah, well, because we
And
can't
you
tell
don't,
you.
and I
It doesn't
sometimes you'll
bother
wear
me.
clothes, and I'm like, how can you put that on your body? Just the texture.
I know.
I can't do
honestly, but it probably
it
mattered
doesn't
for
bother you.
Lauren because Lauren, my sister, like she definitely like is
She
very
had,
sensitive
she
to
couldn't
that
stand
stuff.
turtlenecks.
She
And we
can't.
had our family picture taken in one, but by golly, she was smiling.
She
Was miserable, but
I
she was
love
smiling.
turtlenecks. So
Yeah.
funny.
So and so I just
And tags I know always bothered her for sure too.
Right.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
do
Or
me
getting
too.
her hair cut, and then all the
we had
hair
to have
pieces
it.
are
Yeah,
down.
we'd bring a different shirt.
Yes, you had to bring a shirt.
Yeah,
to change
and
it
I
too.
remember
and
when
I
you,
never cared.
when you had Charles' haircut. I was like, should you bring another shirt?
I was like,
he could care less.
he didn't care. Yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't care. So it just it depends.
It's so different.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like so we're talking about like the physical processing and stuff. What about on like, oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was going to look at some of the characteristics that
Yeah.
accompany these. There, it's like everything. There's wonderful blessings to being highly sensitive, and it can be challenging too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's just
Anything. Yeah.
It's a trait. It's who you are. The heightened sensitivities can make you prone to stress and overstimulation.
Yeah.
Crowds
Yeah.
drive me nuts.
Oh.
I will never go to Mardi Gras. Couldn't pay me. And it's just because the crowd alone is enough to go, oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now I'll go to a football game.
You will go to a football game. Yeah.
But, you can be causes can be prone to that. And then you feel overwhelmed. You feel exhausted.
Very draining.
And so you have to, if you know that about yourself, then you can counter
Yeah.
some of that. But the other side of that is they tend to be creative, intuitive,
Yeah.
empathy, very empathetic. And that's one that I didn't realize till later was, if I saw somebody getting hurt, being treated poorly, it literally made me physically ill.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't stand to see somebody hurt. And I thought, oh, how must they feel? And it just, well, that's not really healthy.
No. Yeah.
To be that. But I didn't realize that it was all tied into this.
So like the emotional side now. Yeah. Because like we got over, talked about the physical.
Yeah.
And this emotional sensitivity that can impact.
That is,
your
that,
life. Yeah.
that term read a room, some people can't. And I thought everybody could. I can walk in a room and go, it's time to leave.
Yep.
Or I
You're
can
good
walk
at
in a room,
that.
look around and go, no, to certain people.
Oh yeah. I don't.
And
I mean, I have a little bit, but not.
Yeah,
nearly your degree.
I just thought everybody. I thought, why don't people have common sense? But it has nothing to do with that. It is that internal thing that goes on, and it can be great, but you also have to learn how to put up your boundaries and go.
Right.
You can be in this situation, and you can put up your boundaries and let that energy, or whatever, stay over there, and you're okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't know it, you don't know what you're battling.
Yeah. So like being highly sensitive, like if somebody else is angry, like are you more prone then to being angry, or I don't know. I mean, I guess everybody is, but is it more just like you can really tell how people are feeling?
Yes, you
Okay.
can tell, and I can, and wouldn't they feel like this? And so I don't think so, and you just read it. There was a person that I met for the first time, and it was in a job situation. And I thought, I had no reason to believe anything, but I just gut
So crazy.
and sensing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I went home and told Paul about it. And he was like, "Oh, really? Yes."
Yeah.
And it was
true.
too true.
That's so crazy. So what are things that you do to cope? Like you've mentioned that you cope and have learned how to
one
filter,
is
but
to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can tune out sounds by having another sound on in the room.
okay.
And that kind of distracts me from it. Or if sometimes I just have to go, I'm going to get up for a minute, walk around, and then I'll come back and I can deal with sounds. But I have learned really good to tune them out.
Yeah.
When the other thing that highly sensitive people can tend to do, not all, but to pick up on others' feelings and let them get in.
Yes. Yeah.
And let it affect you. And that is where it's real dangerous to go, you know what? But that's their anger.
Yeah.
And that's how they're feeling, and let them deal with it. You don't take that on because you're screwed up enough. You have your own emotions and dealings you have to feel with. So when you deal with somebody else's, it meshes the boundaries, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So it's knowing that and saying, okay, wait, let's give them back their anger or their hurt or whatever it is, so they can deal with it.
Yeah.
And not let it into my being.
Yeah. Do you have anything like if you are in a crowd and you're getting...
Yeah, I do. And part of that, here we go, meditation.
Yeah.
But it has helped me because I can be in a crowd and tune everything out and feel like I'm by myself.
Oh, that's good.
And just recharge and go, okay, let's settle down. Let's settle in. And it helps me to block it out. And then I can re-enter. Yeah. And that's the thing is re-entering for me is don't just check out completely.
Yeah.
But get your charge and sometimes it's hard when I'm around for an extended period of time. People that maybe are anxious or angry or whatever, and you're like, oh God, quit it,
Yeah, and it can be draining. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
what are ways that people that aren't highly sensitive can I don't know. I mean, it's something you have to deal by yourself.
Yes.
But I'm sure there's something, I don't know if there's anything we can do.
I don't know. I think that if they are aware of it, if you're aware of it and you can share that with them, right?
Yeah.
And just to know, because as in awe that I am of people who can walk in and they don't care if the next person to them is mad. They don't care if they're, they may care, but they're like, well, they're mad. They'll deal with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect them. I've been going, I remember with your dad, I'm like.
He's that way, for sure.
Our kids are really hurting and upset. Aren't you?
No.
No. I will help them. I do, but he doesn't carry it.
Yeah, he
with
doesn't
him.
carry it.
And it's not just because he's a dad and not a mom.
No. It's just who he is.
It's who he is. Yeah. And you carry it separately.
Because I can be that way too.
You can be that way too. Yeah. I know.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm,
and
it doesn't make me less caring.
It doesn't make you less caring or compassionate or anything else.
I just don't carry it.
You just don't carry it and go, well, they'll have to deal with it. And I'm like, how do you do that? And I'm in awe. Yeah. And that's what I strive for so that I don't.
Yeah.
But there's a blessing of being able to recognize that, and it creates balance in our family, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it'd be hard to not have those types of people around because, then sometimes you need to have somebody that's feeling what the other person is, and you can even, to help teach others what empathy
to point it out.
Really is.
And
point out or be like, that person looks like they're, I may not notice that somebody else looks, disappointed, but you would, and you could point, and
you could point it out. Yeah. And so it is. It's, and I think you're going to get into the spirituality.
Yes, yeah. And so, yes, let's do it.
Can I lead it?
Does it help your spirituality?
I think it is a part of, we taught, I don't know about other faiths. I know that in Christianity, there's this, people have different gifts. And I'm guessing all faiths talk about that. That you have different gifts. That's who you are. Well, being highly sensitive can be a gift for my spirituality because it breeds, I'm very empathetic. And people, so they say, with this highly sensitive, tend to think deeper. It's not smarter. It's not different. It's this deeper.
Yeah.
where people peel back 2 layers of onion and go, wow, that's cool, that's deep, let's stay there. Well, I'm going to find every layer.
Yeah.
And that can be a blessing. It can be a not so fun thing. But they tend to think deeper and seek a lot. And that has come through my spirituality.
Yeah.
That's where it shows me. There are probably scientists who
that
delve deeper into different areas, and they may be highly sensitive, and that's they dig deeper.
What they're saying.
But for my spirituality, it certainly does. And one of the things of highly sensitive people, because we can sense others, or some can sense, can sense what's going on with others. It allows us just to be there with them, and they call it holding space, but just to be there. I feel the anxiety in the room. Other people may not feel it, but they're acting on it, and they don't know, and so it's like, I'm just going to hold the space and be the calm in the midst of chaos. That is. Or whatever that may be.
Yeah, definitely.
But for spirituality, it always, I think it's a part. I can't separate it from that now that I know.
Yeah, that you know. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm just aware of when I've learned, just wear what's comfortable, Kelly. You've got to quit worrying about because if I'm not comfortable, then I'm miserable. Right? Yeah. And I always wonder how, like I said, how people can wear certain clothes.
When you were a kid, like, would your mom put you in clothes that you just hate? That felt bad? Oh, no.
Oh.
They just feel bad.
Yeah, that didn't help.
Oh, no.
And you wear this, it's like... I'm cringing.
Gosh. I know, you are cringing.
So it all played into it. Yeah. And they do say that, so it is just a trait. It's who you are.
Yeah.
But they also say that trauma, if you've had trauma as a child, that it can play into that, because you have to be on high alert, so your body begins to build that, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're always on high alert.
Yeah. So you're always sensitive.
And I think that's an interesting thing. And I was trying to think, okay, what was my trauma? But why was I on high alert? But
I think it's just you.
I think it's just me.
I think it's just you. Yeah.
My brothers weren't on high alert.
No.
So, I think it is. I think it's part of who you are.
Definitely. And do you think, I guess... I mean, it seems that you mostly have just seen the benefits, of being... have you ever really felt very negative about...
Well, I haven't felt negative. Maybe I didn't like parts of it, I remember being called very emotional.
Oh.
And it's like...
That's annoying.
Well, but that, to me, it has become a positive thing. I mean, as you know, I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I just love to cry. No, I do. Which is, emotions. And I have had to learn, because the negative part of that is I can feel things, like get really excited about things. And then I go off and I think, that was just based on emotion. You needed to hold off on that and settle deep and say, is this really something you want to say yes to and get excited about?
Oh, yeah.
Because then they'll go, no. But I was really excited for that person, and I let that get into me, and it was like, oh, yeah, that's it. I don't want to do that. But I figured that
makes
too
you jump
late,
into stuff,
and that's...
Yeah.
Sometimes you say things too soon. Sometimes it's...
Yeah.
So I had to learn, and I still do, some of that.
How to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just like always sitting kind of right there.
Not always.
Okay.
It can be.
Yeah.
It's, again, if you're overstimulated, if you're too...
Yeah, that's
too
true. They all probably feed into each other. Yeah.
And if I'm doing something, I'm really into it, and then something comes along, and it's like, oh, that's just too much. We can get overloaded and stressed.
Yes. Yeah.
You're looking like that. You know when I do that.
Yes.
So you find ways, like today I was playing the piano. Everybody was gone. It was just lovely. And I was just playing the piano, and that's a way of calming.
Yeah.
And getting my, so I do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I kind of understood part of it, because I know Lauren, like growing up, it was definitely like, oh yeah, she's sensitive to her clothes,
Yes.
I don't know as much the sound for her sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I just knew, I was like, okay, so she's sensitive.
I always think everybody in our house listens to the TV so damn loud. It's like, can y'all not hear
There
it?
are times where you say, "Can you turn that up?"
Yeah.
When we're watching a show, so not always.
Not always.
But I think since I had a kid, it's
you
changed.
turned it like, gosh, but like that'll listen
and I
it's
think
like, and Lauren.
It
it's like,
really
can y'all
wasn't
not
it really wasn't until I had, a kid that I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be overstimulated.
Yes.
Because I hadn't had enough going on.
Yeah.
Really to ever, maybe every once in a while feel, if you're at a concert, and you're like,
Yeah.
But other than that, not ever,
But
really.
Kids screaming
But
all the
then
time will do it to you.
touching you all the time.
Oh,
You're
yes.
tired.
Yes.
The constant touching, the noises all the time, and then they get toys and they have 3 of them going at once. Plus, they're screaming at you and touching you. It's just like, and then you're hot and you're cold. I did not fully get it.
Right. It will live my life.
Yeah.
Right.
But then now, honestly, it's like he's not at that stage anymore.
No.
And there are times where I get a little bit, but it's not so bad. And so, but I've had a glimpse.
Yeah.
Into that
That's
world.
what that is. It's like, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, emotions always were on the edge too. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
and so I think at times, I don't know, kind of for our listeners, think I'm sure at least, even if you're not a highly sensitive person, sometime in your life you felt a little overwhelmed. You felt little. So like, you can kind of think about that and try to understand, what these people tend to go through, on a daily basis.
Yeah. They, and this is I saw this little thing and I'll copy it. Some traits and things. And for me, it's so true. Avoiding TV shows or movies that are violent.
Oh yeah.
I just I can only watch so
everything.
much. I love a good suspense.
Yeah. But you don't
too much
like
violence.
Yeah.
I'll
you like go to your phone.
Yeah, when
you're
Paul's
like,
watching something, or when you or Lauren are watching something that's violent, I have my phone so I can immediately go to it
and
when
you're just like
too much violence breaks out. So things like that, it's again a way of protecting.
Yeah.
Bright lights don't do much for it. That's not mine. Uncomfortable clothing, watch out for that. Feeling the need for downtime, but
to recharge. Yeah.
Highly sensitive people tend to have a very rich inner life. Do a lot of reflection. And a lot of again that delving deep. And seeking.
Which is good.
I don't know how rich mine is, but it seems to be going on a lot anyway.
Rich.
But
yeah.
So it's interesting that it's nice that they have to know that there's a name for it.
Yeah.
And I think I'll tag it, but I think that Elaine Aron's book, it's Elaine, and then her last name is Aron, Aron.
Yeah.
And I think it's just called Highly Sensitive, the Highly Sensitive Person,
yeah.
or something like that. And then there's a workbook that goes with it. Just to, if
if you feel like you
that is,
are,
or if you have a child that you think is,
it's good
it's good to
definitely be informed.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. You were highly sensitive in one area. When
What?
you were little, when you put the sock on.
Oh yes.
And that has that line on the
line
socks.
on the
I
sock.
probably bought cheap socks, so they were, and they had this line.
But that had to be exact.
It had to be exact.
Or else it felt weird.
Yeah.
Felt weird.
So you're highly
There we
sensitive
go.
feet
Just
or something.
that.
But that's it.
Yes.
That was the only thing.
That's funny. Alrighty. So next week we continue with our emotions in the body. We're going to talk more specifically about where we might feel different emotions, there's been research on this, what, people tend to feel for different emotions, positive and negative, emotions. And, just talking about how your body reacts to how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah. Remember to check out our Patreon. We've got meditations on there. We've got, stuff. We can check out our Instagram page. You can email us anytime. Yeah. We'd love to chat with you.
Great. And we look forward to next week when we take a breath.
You want to try again?
Yeah. And we look forward to next week when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.